Thank you once again. I'm grateful for the invitation.
All right, so let's begin with the fact that Nigeria Quarantine Services, is among government-certified outfits that will give approval to exporters under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Could you outline the criteria to be met by the exporters?
Well, as every international business transaction is done, there are permits to be issued, there are certificates, there are conditions of trade that we as a country must necessarily observe to enable us partake in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Nigeria being a very large country, population of about 200 million people, we must necessarily obligate ourselves to ensure that whatever is required of us in the course of that trade, is perfectly executed by Nigeria as a country. So the criteria is that every international obligation that is due, we must observe it. And every obligation that we have as a country, Nigeria, being signatories to all the conventions, protocols, we must observe them as well, particularly as it relates to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Those are the things that we must necessarily observe to ensure that those criteria are met in the course of the trade.
All right, so if that is so for Nigerian exporters, now what happens for those coming in to trade in Nigeria? What criteria should they meet under the new trade agreement for them to bring in goods and services to the country?
Now, this is one area that I believe the national chambers of commerce, trade and industry and the various commodity associations and exporters associations will need to come, to be able to inform those people involved in the trade. From the regulatory angles, they know exactly what they are supposed to do, the certificates and the inspection and certification that they need to do to be able to enable their products pass for the trade. But then the processes involved, I think the various commodity associations and the chambers of commerce will need to play a very big role in sensitizing the various members of the association or their chambers as to what to do, to enable them to. There are series and series of protocols, there are series of other things to be done, which time will not permit us, to mention one-on-one here.
I understand that perfectly, but then the question really is, for those who intend to bring in agricultural produce into Nigeria, what criteria should they meet? And then take this as a second phase of the question, what agricultural produce and products are allowed to be traded?
Okay, for agricultural produce, first and foremost, if they are plant and plant products, they need to have what we call the phytosanitary certificate, which is internationally recognized by the international quarantine organizations that permits products to come in. Others are health certificates as it relates to animal and fishery products. Those ones are very important. Then when it comes to endangered species, the CITES certificate, which controls the endangered species, that too has to be brought in and acquired from the Federal Ministry of Environment. Then for the agricultural produce that we can export as a country, I can say that Nigeria is well blessed with so much of agricultural produce that we can export. Be the conventional commodities that we know, rice, maize, and beans. And then the emerging ones like cinnamon, turmeric, ginger, honey, even cow horns and hooves. All those commodities are available in the country, and as the quarantine service 2 years ago, we were able to bring in, highlight 26 agricultural commodities which we are showcasing to Nigeria and to draw the attention of farmers and exporters through the value chain that we have put in place to ensure that those commodities will be exported.
All right, Doc, your organization is not permitted, so to say, to go to the ports. How can you effectively do your job of certifying goods?
Well, we are there at the ports with the coming of the African Continental Free Trade. We had discussion with the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade, and we are discussing with the Federal Ministry of Finance as well to finalize the details of formalizing the return of the Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service to the ports. there is no way that we can do our jobs effectively if that is not formally formalized. What I mean is that there's a government procedure for doing that. While that is going on too, the issue has been identified, it has been addressed, and we are there at the ports, you know, to be able to do what we are supposed to do in furtherance of Nigerian import and export trade, so that whatever we're able to produce as a country will be able to meet the international requirements for Nigeria as a country, and will not have rejection of our products.
All right, thank you very much. We've been speaking with Dr. Vincent Isegbe. He is the Director General, Nigeria Agri Quarantine Services. Many thanks for being with us on the news.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.